This leads me to my bigger macro Bitcoin thesis, which is despite all of the fundamental FUD that has occurred since we topped out in March, whether it was speculation of World War III, monkeypox, expecting the next big economic collapse, large institutions have been buying your bags, right? After one of the largest liquidation runs in crypto history, which is retail getting stopped out of their longs, they sold all of that liquidity to institutions, and institutions very happily bought it up. And not only that, right, now that they've bought over $14 billion, right, in volume and soaked up that short liquidity, they're now about to push price up aggressively towards these highs where we have billions and billions of dollars in resting retail liquidity, which equals one of the largest short squeezes in crypto history and a god candle to the upside. It's very clear what's going on. You got to read between the lines, guys. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Storm Trading channel. Today we have a great video for you. Firstly, I'm going to be covering why I took a swing long trade set up on Bitcoin from around 54K. We'll be going over the take profit levels I see to the upside and where we might find high term time frame resistance, but then also just my macro Bitcoin view and why I think we could be due for a generational sized short squeeze to the upside. So I do want to remind you guys also that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Make sure you guys do your own research before making any trades. But without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that swing long trade I gave you guys from about 2 weeks ago now. I took this trade off of a number of strong confluences. This was a super strong level right in that like 50 to 54K zone. Right in this zone, you have 50K psychological, you have weekly untapped open down in this zone. You have a weekly order block. For those of you who don't know what a weekly order block is, if we go to the weekly chart, right, you see this red candle. This entire, a lot of people do it from the candle body. I like to do wick to wick, but if we were to do from the candle body, it looks something like this, right? So you have that weekly order block, which is a strong level. You have the bottom of this channel, which this is a bull flag forming on the high term time frame, but obviously this price action right here is a descending parallel channel. You have a 618 golden pocket, right, which, as you guys know, one of my favorite zones to trade. So in this zone, you just have so much confluence on the high term time frame, and then you pair it with the fact that this happened, this wick right here happened to be one of the largest liquidation events in all of crypto and actually stock market history as well on that same day, right? So for me, right, when I take swing trades, I need some sort of confirmation for me to get into that trade, right? I don't preset limit orders. I will set an alert at a level, and then I'll make a decision based on the reaction on if I want to get in the trade or not. So when it came down to this level, right, obviously we had a massive wick, tons of volume flood in to this candle, and so I was waiting, right? What I wanted to see was that daily close, which was my entry point, right? I wanted to see a daily close back into this channel, and what that showed me, right? Obviously, I use footprint statistics as well to kind of add a little bit more data, but when this trade happened, obviously we had tons of people liquidated and closing their positions, but towards the bottom of this wick, we had millions and millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of shorts being opened, right? So people FOMO shorting the breakout of the range, right? Getting super fearful, or just getting people who are breakout traders, they're waiting for this kind of breakout of the channel, and then they think it's going to immediately shoot down to like 35, 40K because of all the volume. And so when I see that happen and I see a daily close back into the channel, now I know there's hundreds of millions of dollars of liquidity trapped at this low, and they are now underwater, right? So that is a super strong, probably the strongest confirmation bias that I can get for an entry trigger. So, with that super strong confluenced level, we had a very strong confirmation bias to get into this trade. So I entered. My first take profit was just 25% of my position size, which was it was like a 1.5 to 1 risk reward, but I only took 25% to kind of cover my losses there. And this level was strong for TP1 because we had the 618 lined up with the midpoint of the channel. I actually usually when I hit take profit 1, I'll move my stop loss up to entry. For this trade, I did not. I kept my stop loss down at this low because I have a very strong bias for this trade that I think we're going to see a short squeeze and a massive move up. So I just wanted to give it a little bit more room to play, just so that the price doesn't come down, stop me out, and then push up. So we have that. We have the top of the channel as take profit 2. This is also a level that is going to be very interesting to see if it gets defended. It's not just the top of the channel, but you have billions of dollars of liquidity resting up here between 70 to 73K towards those all-time highs, which I'll get to a little bit later in this video. So if price gets defended, we see tons of short volume come in to kind of defend this level and that liquidity. We could see another push down, which in that case, if I saw volume and footprint statistics lining up, I would take another 25%, so it'd be 75% out of that position total. If not, if we do get that blast, that short squeeze, and we trigger that kind of God candle to the upside, I'll be out 50%, and then still have 50% of the trade running to the upside. I still don't have a definite price target on the way up. This is probably going to be a high-term time frame, long-term swing trade where I could be holding this for months or even a year or two, depending on what happens. So judge the reaction. But right now, I think we're in a very good position. I've taken out a little bit of profit where I'm pretty close to safe. I would still lose a little bit of money if we got stopped out here, but relatively, I'm protected decently. So the trade has played out pretty well so far, but I think we've got a long way to go. So we'll see. All right, so let's talk about my macro Bitcoin view and why I get super excited talking about this, because I think I'm one of the very few who I've heard vocalize this theory. This is my own theory that I've put together over a number of hours of research and then also just experience in the markets, right? You see these patterns play out continually, not only just cycle to cycle, but multiple times throughout a single cycle, right? And so first, right, when I'm making a macro analysis on a market, the first thing I want to check is what is the general sentiment of the market. So we are in a state very clearly of extreme fear. We just came off of one of the largest liquidation events in crypto history. You're hearing rumors of World War III, monkeypox, right? A big recession is coming. All those like quote unquote black swan events to get people super scared, right? And every cycle, it's always different. Each cycle, it's always different. It's COVID, it's going to the war in the Middle East, whatever it is. There's always some black swan event, some news event that scares people out of their bags, right? And it's always very speculative. So markets in extreme fear, that's bullish to me, right? What I always tell people is, hey, the market is always going to be the most fearful at the very bottom, right? And on the flip side of that, the market's going to be the most euphoric and positive and everything looks sunshine and rainbows at the top, right? And it's funny, the very bottom of the start of this bull cycle was the FTX collapse, which was one of the craziest, FUD in all of crypto history. And that was the very start to the day of the bull cycle. So just something to think about, right? From a market standpoint, there's a ton of fear. We're still only down, 20%, if that, on Bitcoin right now. And the market is in like extreme fear. Which is just nonsensical, right? It's because they're letting these fundamental news events shake them out of their bags. So especially in like the meme coin and altcoin space, right? And so speaking of liquidations as well, right? Because I think this is very important. This candle right here that I was referencing earlier, again, one of the largest liquidation events in all of crypto history. If you know how markets move, right, especially Bitcoin, Bitcoin hunts liquidity, right? Institutions need liquidity to get in their positions. And then also the market wrecks people, right? 95+% of retail traders lose money. So the market searches for that retail liquidity. And so when we get this big move down and this big liquidation run, right? It's almost like clearing the liquidity to the downside before a big move up. You see that pattern play out over and over and over again. It's a big reason why I took this long trade, which, was very successful. Hit 2 of my take profits, closed out 75%, and then got stopped out at break even. So that was a big trigger for this last one. This was a big liquidity run as well. So the fact that we grabbed that liquidity first and then closed back on the channel, another very bullish macro sign. We cleaned almost all of the liquidity to the downside. I mean, you could pull up a liquidity heat map and look down to like 30, 32K, but I just don't think it's plausible that we go that low, especially this bull run, right? So clear the liquidity to the downside. Now where's the liquidity? So here's a liquidity heat map, okay? These dark yellow lines, this indicates where liquidity is resting, right? So people who take short trades, specifically retail traders, this is where their liquidity points are, right? If price gets up here, they get liquidated, they get wrecked, and then are forced to buy back their position, and that's how you get a massive short squeeze, right? Like I said, we're forming a massive bull flag, right? The reason bull flags are so bullish, right, is because in this bull flag phase, when you're, making lower highs and you're consolidating, this is all untapped liquidity to the upside, right? So like right here, if you were to take a short anywhere in this channel, you have not been stopped out if you put your stop loss at the last swing high, right? Whether it was here and you put it there, here you put it there, here put it there, here put it there. It's just lower highs, right? So liquidity has not even been touched to the upside. And so if you look at this liquidation heat map, we have 3.5 billion liquidation leverage and almost about 4 billion liquidation leverage at all-time highs, right? So right in this zone, if we even get tapped into this first one, it'll be like an instant, billions of dollars of liquidation to the upside. The candle, right, will look, I believe, I want to say this was $1.2 billion liquidated in this candle. This would be potentially, 5+ times the size of that liquidation run to the upside, right? Almost instantly. So, that's what a short squeeze is, right? You get people shorting, institutions squeeze price up, squeeze retail out of their short positions, and then you get a massive wick up, and that's how institutions make their money, and they do it over and over and over again. That's called market making, right? That's called market manipulation, right? So I just want to go over a couple of these tweets because it kind of explains exactly what I'm saying. So again, $1.2 billion liquidated, right, in 24 hours. This was August 5th. It was that candle I was showing you, right? Similarly, right, $1.4 trillion from U.S. stocks liquidated, one of the largest liquidation events in stock market history as well, right? You just see all this red, right? All these big accounts posting about how much money was lost, how we're going to see a recession, mortgage rates are plunging, right? Everything's going to zero. Yet institutions are not just holding, but buying, right? So you have Watch Your Guru tweet, just in, BlackRock, Fidelity, Grayscale, and MicroStrategy have not sold their Bitcoin despite the market crash. This was the day or the day after that big market crash happened, right? And then, we're not done yet, we have Europe's 4th largest hedge fund disclosing $500 million of spot Bitcoin ETFs holdings. Or $1.3 trillion asset manager Morgan Stanley discloses $187 of Bitcoin ETF holdings. Third largest public pension fund, NPS, buys $34 million worth of MicroStrategy shares, the largest institutional holder of Bitcoin. $2.8 trillion asset manager Goldman Sachs discloses $418 million of Bitcoin ETF holdings. South Korea's pension fund buys $34 million in MicroStrategy shares. So you can see the trend, right? This leads me to my bigger macro Bitcoin thesis, which is despite all of the fundamental FUD that has occurred since we topped out in March, whether it was speculation of World War III, monkeypox, expecting the next big economic collapse, large institutions have been buying your bags, right? After one of the largest liquidation runs in crypto history, which is retail getting stopped out of their longs, they sold all of that liquidity to institutions, and institutions very happily bought it up. And not only that, right, now that they've bought over $14 billion, right, in volume and soaked up that short liquidity, they're now about to push price up aggressively towards these highs where we have billions and billions of dollars in resting retail liquidity, which equals one of the largest short squeezes in crypto history and a god candle to the upside. It's very clear what's going on. You got to read between the lines, guys. So that is my larger macro Bitcoin theory. Sorry, my video keeps cutting out just because I'm low on storage. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and make sure you turn notifications on so you don't miss out on any more Bitcoin updates. And I'll see you guys in the next video.